My name is Rhonda, driver recruiting specialist with Schneider. Today I'm joined by Brian. Brian is one of Schneider's training engineers. And what we're here to discuss today is Schneider's truck driving careers and options for career progressions. As always, we are live, so feel free to ask questions. We'll try to get to them while we are on the air live. If not, we will still be monitoring to see if there are other questions that we can help answer. So, we talk a lot about different driving opportunities when we're at Schneider, about all the different driving, dedicated, intermodal, tanker. We're always talking about those new drivers experienced. But today, really what we wanted to do was focus on different career paths for your professional truck driving career. So really, Brian, if you could just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you and your experiences throughout your career and progression.
Okay, well, I'm Brian Johnson. I've been with Schneider for 3 years. I've been a training engineer for 2.5 years. I run out of the Green Bay region. I do run on a dedicated run. And as a training engineer, I'm taking 1 or 2 students pretty much every week. Have trained more students this year than there have been weeks this year, and either for 1 or 2 weeks, depending on the student and the program that they're in.
Okay, so that's kind of where we wanted to go with this conversation today. We have some different opportunities that we wanted to make sure that everybody was aware that we have, from driver mentored training engineers such as yourself, and even the driver instructors who do a lot of the classroom instruction. So let's start off with talking about the new driver mentor role that we have.
Yes.
So I understand that this is a brand new role, and it's a little bit different from what we've offered as a mentor program in the past. So really, I think what I understand, if I'm not correct, that these are, even if you have been a mentor for us in the past, they're looking to have you apply for this new position in order to receive all of the perks that come with that position. Is that what you've understood with that?
Yeah, and it's a role after they come through the regular training program with the trainers, and then come out with the training engineers for 1 or 2 weeks. Then when they get out to their real job, then that's where the mentor program comes in, and you'll take students with you in that role for I don't know what the defined period of time is, but to help them really get acclimated to the real life out on the road for longer periods of time than what a training engineer does.
Okay, so when you say that, so it's probably, I think it's, from what I understand, it's about a 4-week program that the mentors are associated with that new driver. Now, do you know what the requirements are or what the experience level is for the driver mentor program?
I don't.
Okay, I believe, and if we are incorrect about this, I believe it is at least 6 months of Class A tractor trailer experience before you could be before you're eligible for that position. Which makes sense to me. You obviously want to have that experience out there before you're trying to show others what to do or how to do things.
You bet.
So, and I think, pretty much if you're interested in that, definitely go to schneiderjobs.com, look in your zip code area to see if those opportunities are available out of your the area where you currently reside. They are based on the need in the area. So if you see it under your zip code, you should be able to get that application in, and then we would reach out to you to discuss the next steps in that hiring process. So with that driver mentor role, I would, some of the other perks about it is that it does offer them, some incentive for while they have the students with them, if I understand, kind of paying them a weekly rate of pay plus a mileage rate while they have those students.
Yes.
Is that correct? Or
Yes.
The mentees?
Yeah, so they're able to earn more than what they're normally would without having that.
Right, it's kind of a guaranteed rate that they know, plus the addition of the miles. If I understand, it's like $1,000 a week, and then 20 cents per mile. It is, from what I'm understanding, in most areas. And then there is even a retention bonus right now that we're offering for that program. I'm not sure if you're aware of that, Brian.
No.
But they do offer a $400 retention bonus currently if at the end of the 4-week training cycle, with a successful mentee with you. So basically, if you take that mentee out on the road with you as a mentor and you successfully complete that with them, to make them feel confident and ready to go, then you are eligible to earn a retention bonus for that as well.
Based on the student staying with the company. So
staying
it's
with the
not
company and
keeping you as a mentor. It's
keeping this
training the student well enough and motivating them enough to stay with, which
right.
is similar to what TEs
Right.
have.
So definitely. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about your role, training engineer role. So tell me about your responsibilities. What is it that you provide to our new students or our new drivers to Schneider?
After students go through a 2 or 3 week program at one of the training centers, then they're assigned to a TE. I take 1 or 2 students out depending on the needs of the different training centers. I'm based out of Green Bay, but I do take students from Green Bay, Indianapolis, Dallas, any training center that has a need. Right now we're short on TEs, so I'm taking a lot of students.
Okay.
What my goal is to get them out of the training yard and out onto the road to show them what the real road life is like, what real highways are like, what real backing is like. And to get them comfortable with that, get them a lot of miles.
Very important, I think. I think your training engineers are the very, very base of our operations and being successful with our new drivers coming through the program. Without you guys out there doing that job and being there for them and walking them through those steps, I don't think we'd have the success rates that we do. So we do appreciate what you do as well. Also, is it Michael Peters says that Brian was his training engineer and he gave me all the knowledge to be the best truck driver I can be.
Well,
there you go.
That's the fun part of being a training engineer, is seeing students that are around and seeing them succeed. And that's my goal as a training engineer, not just obviously teaching them the safest way to do things, but also showing them the tricks of the trade on how to be efficient while being safe, to become the best and highest paid truck drivers out there. As a Schneider driver, I think Schneider drivers are the best on the road. And I take it onto me as an important role to pass that on to the new drivers. I want people to see orange trailers and know the person at the front of that orange trailer is kind, courteous, and knows what the heck they're doing. So that's what I take on as my role.
So what would you say was a really good, and before I ask this question, just want to kind of remind everybody we are live. If you have questions for Brian or myself, don't hesitate to let us know, okay? But Brian, what are some of the most important qualities of a training engineer? What do you think it takes to be a good training engineer?
I think a desire to see other drivers succeed. That is hugely important. Having patience, because you will have some students that you need to be very patient with. But no student that I have gotten has been that huge of a challenge as far as patience goes. It's more refining the skills that the training school gave them and showing them, okay, we're not going to do 20 miles around town today. We're going to do 600 miles and get down the road.
Yeah, I think, with anything, to a new driver, especially if they are inexperienced and just coming out of a school, it's probably important, I would think, to remember what it was like when you were new. Because it's a whole new, when you start any new job, it's a daunting experience at first. And knowing that you've got somebody who's there with you and sitting in that passenger seat while you're driving to help you and kind of, walk you through those first steps, I think is very important. So I think somebody that's going to be a good training engineer or driver mentor is going to be somebody who is very patient and very good with people and maybe flexible in their training skills.
Sure, but also realizing that I still have a job to do. I'm still a dedicated driver and I still have appointments that I have to make. But the students, when they get out on their own, their schedule is going to be a little different than mine. So I'm showing them this is how we're going to run this week, but also explaining it's going to take time for you to get to this point.
And then looks like we have another question. Johnson is asking us, do you need to have an endorsement to be an over-the-road driver? Well, as far as an over-the-road driver, to answer that question, just for regular drive-in, it is not required. We always encourage and recommend that you get your endorsements. That way that it opens up more opportunities for you to take more loads, carry, get more miles, which equals more pay. So, and to answer that question, not a requirement for a regular dry van over the road, or most of our positions like that. However, we do encourage it, and a lot of our lines of business will help with the reimbursement of like the hazmat endorsement as one of the examples.
I have no endorsements, and I don't have a problem getting miles.
There you go. So like
I just have endorsements from some of my students who
right, like Brian said before. Brian said before, you depending on what you're doing, you don't necessarily need the endorsement. So definitely, if you're looking for driving opportunities, Jensen, please go to schneiderjobs.com and see what we have available in your area. All right, so we kind of talked a little bit about that. Now, on average, I think for the training engineers, from what I understand, Brian, you need at least 9 months of experience with Schneider, or
if you're an inexperienced driver, they want you to drive on your own for 9 months before you enter the training engineer program.
Okay.
If you have experience, at least 6 months.
Okay.
So that you understand our process. How your road runs are going to take you, at least then you have a firm grip on that before you join the TE program.
If you're an experienced driver coming to Schneider, then it would be 6 months. Is that right? Okay. And we do have another question. It looks like Fred wants to know if there's an age limit. If you're talking about an age limit to be a driver, no, there is not. I don't think there's an age limit to be a training engineer either. I think all that takes is the desire to do so and to be good at it.
And from an age standpoint, having students with you is kind of nice, because there's a lot of days I don't have to crank up the trailers or don't have to open up the doors, because they need to know how to do it. So they do a lot of that legwork after I make sure they're doing it properly.
Okay. Oh, and I guess I should clarify, Fred, there's a minimum age, I guess, would be, you do need to be 21 to drive for Schneider. Now, I will tell you, if you are driving and you're under 21, keep us in mind when you do turn 21, and we'll be happy to bring you on board.
That's a federal CDL.
Yes, exactly.
Not just Schneider.
Yes, right, exactly. Well, some companies have positions that drivers under 21 can.
Yeah, once I hit 21, I joined Schneider.
Okay. I was going to say, once you turn 21, you're going to. All right. So we've talked a little bit about those things. Now I'm just kind of trying to take a quick peek at what else we might want to discuss today.
Driver instructors.
Okay. You want to have now the driver instructors are classroom instructors.
Classroom and in-town instructors.
Yeah. So their responsibilities are a lot like yours, but a little bit more involved. They're kind of working with these, teaching them they do the classroom and the simulators, things like that. So we do have actual simulators that drivers get to practice some real life road experiences with in a safe environment. So they walk them through all of that, and then they take them out in the yard. Kind of what
they take them out in the yard. Okay, so it's a 2 or 3 week program, and they do teach the classroom work. So what are the federal regulations? What are Schneider's regulations and rules? They do a lot of testing with them to find out if they understand the rules. And then they do take them in the yard and they teach them how to back up in a very controlled environment. Then in Green Bay, they take them around Green Bay. Some training instructors take them on short runs, some take them on a little longer run, but for right-hand turns, left-hand turns, all of that. But it doesn't really add up to a whole bunch of miles, but it sees if they can at least do those basics and gets them up to the basics. The one upside to being a training instructor is they're in town. They go home every night. They can see the family every night. From a pay standpoint, they're coming off the road. If they're used to a lot of miles, well, they're going to be coming into that role with the miles they basically had and turn that into a salary.
Okay, so they do get pay incentives and things like that as well. Just another reminder for you guys, we are live, so please feel free to keep asking those questions and have them coming in for us as well while we're discussing these topics. Don't hesitate to interrupt us to ask a question. So driving instructors, as you said, one of the perks is the home daily. And I do believe there's also some minimum requirements for experience for those roles as well.
Those roles typically are coming out of being either a mentor or a training engineer. So as you have been a training engineer for a while, then you might get a tap on the shoulder and say, hey, do you want to go inside? Or if that's the direction you want to go, you can certainly raise that question with the local training director and say, hey, I've been a training engineer for however long. I don't know what the minimums are. I know they keep knocking on my door saying, you want to come inside? And I said, no, I like driving too much.
Not ready to come in, not ready to come in from the road yet?
I like the sunrises and sunsets.
I don't blame
areas.
you. I think that's one of the great things about this that we're talking about today is there's a little bit of something for everyone. We are, kind of doing all of those things. You can do go right from learning to be a driver to being, a mentor or a training engineer. And then when you are ready to get off the road, there's other opportunities for you and still being in the driver space.
Absolutely.
So yeah, definitely. And then it looks like we do have another question. Oh, someone is just telling us that they will be at the Charlotte Operating Center in October for training. That would be Aunt Darisaw. Well, congratulations. We look forward to having you on board.
See if you end up with me for a week or two.
He could be so lucky.
Well, we'll see.
All right. So then, again, you said there's pay incentives and so I think a lot of that, like you were mentioning with the driver instructor role, has to do with their experience coming into the position.
Exactly. It's what their basic pay was while in, and then they discuss that with you going forward. Because I've heard of a lot of people not wanting to be an instructor because, well, I'm going to have to take a pay cut. Then I'll be home, and then I'll have to see my wife every day.
Now, he's afraid of that honey-do list. Yeah. So
I don't have that problem.
There you go. All right. So then, kind of also getting into a little bit more. I know we had some things we wanted to kind of pick your brain on a little bit today, Brian. So, what are some of the common questions you get about your role as a training engineer?
It's how do I deal with new drivers? And it's simple. It's yes, I do have to have the patience. But I was a school teacher, so more adult students is a lot easier than middle-aged kids that don't listen to anybody. Okay,
so that's you'd kind of let them know a little bit about what you experienced through that.
What I experienced with the students, and every student is a little different. But that's just like every backing is a little different. Every day is a little different. You never know.
Okay. Do you have another question coming in? Johnson is asking us or stating that he has 5 months of driving experience, wanting to know how long training would be. Really, for most instances, it's going to be about 5 days. Now, unless, of course, you wanted to come into our bulk or our tanker division, that does take a little bit longer. Just due to all the safety factors and everything that you need to learn in that role. But typically for most of our positions, an experienced driver with 3 months or more of experience would be in training for about 5 days.
And so you're assuming that person is not within Schneider and not talking about what does it take to become a TE?
Yeah, if he's looking to be a TE, I think he's looking, I hope I'm understanding that question right. He was asking how long he would be in training if he joined Schneider in general.
Coming to Schneider in general. Mm-hmm. Yeah, to become a TE, it's a 1-week program. If you're a driver now with Schneider and you've gone, past 6 or 9 months, or you've been with Schneider for 20 years, but now want to be a TE, there is a 1-week class that you go to just to learn how people learn.
Okay.
So, some people learn by doing, some people learn by watching, some people learn by listening, all those kind of little skills.
So they put you through that to teach you how to teach.
Exactly.
Okay.
Teach you how to teach driving. You know how to drive, but how do you teach somebody how to do a button hook turn? How to make sure you're taking all your space you need on every corner every time, so you don't hit that fire hydrant on the corner.
So it sounds like we give you a lot of support in all those directions for depending on, even when you're going to become a training engineer, we don't just give you the hat and say, go do it.
Oh, absolutely. And there are things that have come up, over the years that I've done it, that this is what I did. Is there a better way to do it?
Okay.
So, I know a lot of the other TEs. I know most of the instructors in Green Bay and some of the instructors at other areas. So if I run into a question, there's always somebody there to bounce something off of.
Okay.
How do I deal with this?
Okay. So you have your people to get in touch with when you need that kind of backup.
Well, just like all of our drivers do. All of our drivers have their training instructor probably still around. The training engineer probably still around. The mentors, they'll be around for a while. The DBL.
Great network for support.
There's always a great network around this place for support.
It's one of the things I love about Schneider is that we seem to be a family environment. We're always there for each other. JJ Mitchell asked whether or not we have an apprenticeship program for retiring military veterans. There's a lot involved in that question, really depending on your status, your GI Bill, those kind of things. We do have apprenticeship programs. We have, different, depending on exactly what it is that you're asking. There, JJ. So if you're looking to get your license or if you're looking for the apprenticeship in order to use your GI Bill benefits, we do have a lot of opportunities, and we do have military recruiters on staff that can help you with those questions. Definitely give us a call at Schneider 1-800-44-PRIDE, and we can certainly answer those questions in more detail for you.
I'm a veteran, and I will tell you that Schneider takes care of veterans, and I will tell you that most of the veterans that I've had as students as a TE have been some of the best ones. They know how to take instruction, and they work really hard at it.
Yes, they do, and they're great for the interviewing process. From my aspect, they always have everything they need and ready for me to go. I know I'm going to have a done. So I love that. So Timothy asked, what school do you hire from in Las Vegas? I'm not exactly sure if you're asking me about truck driving schools. What schools do we hire from? And we hire from all accredited schools. There's very few across the country that we consider that we don't consider very well preparing you for becoming into Schneider.
We have our own schools.
We do. Well, we have our own apprenticeship programs, yes.
Driving schools, Indianapolis and Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
So
for the apprenticeship program,
as a CAT student and get their license from us.
Yep, they actually, what they would need to do for that is they need to go to schneiderjobs.com, look up their zip code, and see what opportunities we have for company-sponsored training opportunities. So they do have apprenticeship programs. We do have some other company-sponsored where we do, so there's a lot of different programs right now that we're offering, and to include the apprenticeship where they come into one of Schneider's operating centers and we teach them on the job how to drive and get their license.
Right.
Caller says, how about 8 years of driving experience? How long would you be in training? Well, for the purposes of our conversation today, he's coming to us with 8 years of experience and he wants to be a training engineer.
Oh, he wants to be a training engineer.
I'm not sure what he wants. He's
okay,
just
well,
saying he has the experience.
He's coming from another trucking company, has 8 years experience, coming to us, wants to be a driver for us, I think that's a 1-week onboarding process. And then after you're with us for 6 months, then you could become a training engineer.
Okay. Okay, and he was he might have been a rehire for us, it looks like. So he had 2 years of experience with us in the past. Does that count for when he comes in?
Maybe.
So
depends on what his experience was
right
with us and what division he's in, who his DBL is. All of those things, I think, play into it.
Sure, and what I would say is, caller, I would say definitely get in touch with our driver recruiting department, and they can answer those questions in more detail, kind of get a little bit more information from you on what you're looking for. But I would definitely give us a call or get your application in at schneiderjobs.com, and then we can review your criteria at the same time that we're answering all those questions for you.
And being a TE does pay you more.
It's
potentially quite a bit more.
So, because you do get the incentives for having a student with you,
I get paid for the student for every day I have them, and then depending on the students, sometimes I end up getting more miles for those weeks.
That's awesome.
So,
and definitely, I mean, we are definitely looking and hiring training engineers, mentors, instructors in different locations across the U.S. So definitely, guys, if you have are interested in learning more, definitely would love to see you go ahead and get your applications in. SchneiderJobs.com. Go under the company drivers tab, type in your zip code, and see what we have open for you. Be happy to talk with you through chat or through phone call as well. So I think today we've covered quite a bit of information.
Well, and if they want to be a TE, just call their local training director.
Okay, if they're on board with us already.
If they're already on board with us,
okay.
And it doesn't matter where you are, what you haul, talk to the local training director, because we will send students to you no matter where you are.
All right. Well, thank you guys very much for your time. And if you stuck with us through our first couple of attempts, we appreciate that greatly. Keep the questions coming, and we'll be following up with those for you as well. Have a great day, and thank you for your time, Brian.
Have a great weekend.
Stay safe out there.